So sit up straight. Take your hands behind, roll your shoulders back. I will press your hands down. Lengthen up through your side waist, side chest. Keep this length in your torso as you release your hands to your thighs and close your eyes. Descend your thighs. Have your shoulders directly over your hips, so you're even on your two sitting bones. Lengthen up through the front of your body. Take your arm bones back to bring your shoulder blades onto your back. And then use the pressure of the shoulder blades coming together and pushing into the back ribs to lift your chest. Soften your neck and throat. Release your jaw. Rest your tongue into the base of your mouth. Take slow, even breaths. And then gently open your eyes. Stretch your legs out. And then come over to your hands and knees. All right. We'll see how long I can do this. Spread your palms, tuck your toes underneath, lift your hips up. Press your thighs back, press your hands forward. So I said, we'll see how long I can do this, downward dog, because I strained a muscle called the supraspinatus, which is one of the rotator cuff muscles. It's the one that most people tear. Luckily, I didn't tear mine, so should heal soon. But the interesting thing about injuries, and I've mentioned this before in class, is they teach you a lot. Like, oh, so how do I teach somebody with a shoulder injury? Well, this is what I've been taught and what works for me. So I've never had a knee injury. So that's probably next. So you can use even your little aches and pains or your big aches and pains to figure out what works and what doesn't. And it's not always the thing that feels right, which is one of the problems. Come forward to plank. Lift your abdomen, press your palms into the floor, tuck your buttocks under. As you press your palms into the floor, use that to move your upper back up towards the ceiling. And then go back into downward facing dog. Bend your knees. Sit back onto your heels. All right. Place your elbows on the floor. Turn your palms up and see if you can get your thumbs down. Now my thumbs don't go down to the floor. So you're trying to, they go down like this, but as soon as I take them down, the thumbs won't go to the floor. So you want your palms up and your hands shoulder width apart. All right, so this is external rotation. Well, it's external rotation of the shoulders, called something else on the hand. But press your hands into the floor as well as you can. And if your thumbs don't touch, they don't touch. If they touch, press your thumbs into the floor. Tuck your toes underneath and lift your hips. Now you can keep bending your knees. So this is for the shoulders rather than the hamstrings. Keep pressing your hands down and forward. Take your shoulders towards your feet. And notice if your hands are coming together. If they're coming together, come down and reset. And if not, just stay up. All right. Now keep this rotation in your shoulders. You can come down and rest for a second. So you're going to keep this rotation like this, but just turn your palms. And then go back up. So now the palms are on the floor. So start with the palms up, then turn the hands. And what this does, my teacher calls this the pudgy bit of the arm. So it keeps the pudgy bit of the arm inside, but it also externally rotates your shoulder, even though you're turning your palms down. And then come back up. Ooh, I can't do that. Press your hands down and forward. Try to move your shoulders behind your wrist, meaning towards your feet. And then if you're able, you can walk in. That has more to do with hamstring though. Lift your buttocks. You can bend your knees a little. And that's mostly for Kathy. And then come down. Place your hands on the floor, tuck your toes. Come up to standing. Stand with your feet hip width apart. If you need blocks for Uttanasana, get them now. Roll your shoulders back. Bend at your hips. Bring your fingertips to the floor or to blocks. Move your chest forward. Take your thighs back. Lift your inner thighs as much as your outer thighs. So usually most people tend to collapse a little bit on the inside of the foot. So you have to lift from the inside of the foot all the way to the inner thigh. At the same time, it's not like leaning towards the little toe side of the foot, although that helps. But it's like you're taking your thighs apart. My thighs are very attached to each other. They like to be together. I don't know what they would do without each other. All right, and then walk your hands back. Lower your head towards the floor. Place your hands on your waist. Take your elbows to the ceiling. Inhale, come back up. All right, Urdhva Hastasana. Take your arms overhead. Okay. If you have any kind of lower back pain, when we come forward, you're going to put your hands on your waist like this. Everyone keep their hands up. You're going to go like this. Fold forward, bring your hands down. Hands on the waist, come up. Otherwise, the hands will be in line with the ears and they'll stay in line with the ears as you come forward and come back up. So you remember back in the day when you'd be in PE class and they'd make you do toe touches all the time? This is basically what that is. All right, so lift your quadriceps up and either hands to the waist or fold forward, fingertips to the floor. Buttocks to the heels. Inhale, come up. Exhale. Fingertips to the floor. Inhale. Buttocks towards your heels. Come back up. Exhale. Fingertips to the floor. Inhale. Buttocks towards your heels. Back up. So you're using your hamstrings. Come down. To lift yourself up. Come down. Buttocks towards your heels. Come up. One more. Come down. Buttocks towards your heels. Come up. Release your hands down. All right, take a block. Place it between your palms. And have your elbows in line with your shoulders. Press into the block. Bring your shoulder blades onto your back by taking your arm bones back. And then take your elbows to the ceiling. Look at your elbows. And so you don't want them to go wide. You want to use the muscles of your arms to keep them in line with the wrist like they were before. So press your index finger into the block and then turn your upper arms out, and that will help you get your elbows in line. Then lift the block up and lower it down. Now take your elbows up, same position without the block. So this external rotation, meaning turn this way, will help you here, but have your hands facing each other. And then keep this distance between your hands and between your elbows and lift your arms up. So mine don't go very far in order to get that, to keep everything in line, not without the block. Yours may go further back over your head. My right one goes pretty far, but my left doesn't go. So
And then bring your arms back down. You can rotate your shoulders a few times. All right. So place the block on the floor, put it between your feet. There we go. Imagine you're lifting the block up. That'll help you lift your inner thighs. And then take your arms up. So press down through your heels, lift up through your inner thighs, lift up through your fingers. Now keep that length. Put your left foot on the block. Where is that silly thing? Here it is. And stand up onto your left foot, floating the right foot. Just floating your right foot, yes. Then turn your right leg out. Find your balance. Bend your right leg and put it on your left calf. Then release your right leg down to the floor. Take your left leg down to the floor. Press into the block. Lift your inner thighs up. Extend through your fingertips. Then put your right foot on the block. Float your left leg. Find where you have to press down on your foot so that you're lengthening it up evenly through both sides of your waist, so your hips not sticking out. Turn your left leg out. Find your balance. Place it on the opposite calf. Ah. Then release your left leg to the floor. Release your right leg to the floor. Release your arms down. All right. Place your left foot on the block. Float your right leg. Bend your right leg so it's looks like this. So keep the right leg lifted, bend the left leg. Then take the right leg over the left. Roll your thighs inward and down. Now you're trying to sit down more. You can be next to a wall if this is just going crazy. So you want, oh, I should show from the front. So it looks like this. It's hard to look at you guys and balance at the same time. All right, then release that leg. Straighten your left leg. And then finally put your right leg down to the floor. One foot either side of the block. Place your right foot on the block. Step up. Now lift your left leg up. Bend your right leg. And bring the left leg over. So it's not quite Gomukhasana yet, or Garudasana, sorry. Then lift your left leg up, straighten your right leg, lower the left leg down, 1 foot either side of the block. Okay, let's take the block, place it between the thighs. And take another block, it'll probably have to be a different width depending on you, and place it between your calves. I need a special brick. All right, now squeeze those blocks. Squeeze them with the muscles of your legs. Maybe this only works with my legs. Actually, it works with both. Okay. Now release that. Okay, back to Garudasana. Let's see, stand on your left leg. Lift up. Bend your right leg up. Now bend your left leg. See how long you can stay here. All right. Then wrap your right leg over your left as well as you can. Now, if you can take the foot behind, go ahead and do that. If you can't, imagine those bricks were between your legs again and squeeze the bricks together. Take your arms up, take your right arm underneath your left, and wrap your arms around each other. Sit back on the wall here. As you press your elbows against each other, create space between your shoulder blades. And then release your arms. Lift your right leg up. Straighten your left leg. Release your right leg down. One foot either side of the block. Place your right foot on the block. Float your left leg. Bend your left leg up. And then bend your right leg. So be here for a moment. This would be good for strength building. And then bring your left leg around your right. Now squeeze your legs together. Now you can wrap your foot if that's available to you. But squeeze your legs together like they had that block. Roll your thighs inward. All right, Kathy, do it like this. Yeah, just like that. All right, then take your arms up. Take your left arm underneath your right. Squeeze your elbows together. Press your elbows into each other to spread across your shoulder blades. So this is the same spread that we had in plank, and we'll revisit plank too. All right, release your arms. Lift your left leg up. Straighten your right leg. I don't know, I catch my arms like that. Lower your left leg down, lower your right leg down. Stand Tadasana. Okay. Let's go back to plank. Come onto your hands and knees. Actually, we'll start with just the hands and knees. So, many of you know that there is a pose I can't stand, and it's called cat-cow. And I just don't get anything out of it. But one thing that maybe I've gotten out of it is this pressure in your hands to move your shoulder blades apart from each other. So that was the same as this, where we move that up. So in plank, so first do it on all fours. So press your hands down and use the pressure of your hands down to pull your belly in, and you'll get a slight rounding in your back. So don't do it to the point, you know, like that, but just push down to get that spread across the shoulder blades. Then tuck your toes underneath, stretch your legs back, and come into plank. All right, bend your knees, come down. Why not? Rest in child's pose. Okay. Next, walk your knees back. So you're in like a knee plank, so knees down, plank. So you need your knees far enough back, legs together this time, so that when you come forward, you can still feel some abdominal activity. Press your hands down, move your shoulder blades away from each other. So do that first. Then roll your upper arms out and bring your shoulders towards each other. So now you're moving your chest. So this is chest away from the floor. Now move your chest towards the floor, rolling your upper arms out. And then chest away from the floor, chest towards the floor. Chest away from the floor, chest towards the floor. And come on. All right. Take a blanket and roll it. Why not? Nice big roll. I should use one that you can see better. Different color. A little easier to see. Okay. Now place your heels on the blanket and your toes on the floor. Start with your feet hip width apart. Take your arms forward. Bend your knees, come down into a squat. Yeah. Now, Kathy, if this starts to hurt your knees, you do everything with the block between your knees. Wider, I think, but no, medium. Not, so this way. Yes. Maybe you did it that way to begin with, but okay. All right, can you squat down? All right. Stand back up. Actually, let's all try that. block between your knees. My feet have to be pretty far apart if the block is this wide. But. So if you have thinner legs, thinner hips, you could do a thinner block. And actually, Kathy, you could probably do a thinner block too. Now that I have it in there, arms forward, bend your knees. Ah! Squeeze the block, straighten your legs. Ah, bend your knees. Yeah, good. Straighten your legs. All right, try a different width. See if that works better for you. Because the width, well, when you do malasana, which is what we were going for, the feet are together and the knees are apart. But that will be very hard if you have cranky knees today. So we're doing it with the feet apart. Arms forward, bend your knees. Squeeze the block, straighten your legs. Yeah. Bend your knees. Maybe don't go down so far. If you go down to the point where you can't get back up, then don't go down so far. All right, one more. Bend your knees. Straighten your legs. Release your arms. All right, so we're going to do the one other way. So if you're tight in your heel or your ankles, you're going to keep the blanket. If not, get rid of the blanket. Take your arms forward. Bend your knees. Straighten your legs. Ah, that's better. Bend your knees. Straighten your legs. Like, when did this become exercise class? Bend your knees. Straighten your legs. So one of my goals is to do a pistol squat. I can get down, but I can't get back up. So that's part of the training. So we're going to go into more of that kind of stuff. I think I'll skip it today because of my shoulder and Kevin's knee. And so, but one of the things about this movement of lifting, of pressing the hands down and lifting between the shoulders, actually we can try this. Why not? So, I come down into a squat, I take my knees apart, I squeeze in, and I come forward, and here I am in row, and then I press now you may not see a whole lot of difference here, but I'm pressing my hands down to lift my upper back in, and it pulls my abdomen in. So rather than coming down towards the floor like this would be more like chaturanga. I'm pressing down. So you don't even have to come off the block. And you don't even have to use the block. See what's happening today. All right. So come into a squat. And take your arms inside your legs. Then press your legs against your arms and put your hands on the floor. Then lean forward and get some weight on your hands. It doesn't have to be a lot to feel this. And then press your hands into the ground and try to move your shoulder blades away from each other. So just like we did in Garudasana, just like we did in plank pose, you'll feel abdomen engaged more. And that's closer to crow pose. All right, come on. Now the other one, so crow pose, just touching on it, but it's more, this class is really more about this movement of moving the chest away from the floor and moving the chest towards the floor. So the next one we're going to do is moving the chest towards the floor, and I want you to do it on your knees. And I'm going to have a brick just to protect my shoulders because we're going to go into chaturanga. And so I want just a little support to make sure I can get into chaturanga without hurting my shoulder. But the trick to chaturanga is the chest towards the floor. So everything else is the same as plank, but we have to move the shoulder blades towards each other rather than away from each other and bend the elbows. All right? Okay. All right. So come onto your knees, and you can have a safety brick too if you wish. You don't have to have the brick. The brick is just there. It should end up like under your abdomen. All right. Have your, so lean forward like that, knee down plank. And then move your shoulder blades away from each other, towards each other. Away from each other, towards each other. All right. Then the next one, keep them towards each other and bend your elbows. Keeping your shoulder blades towards each other and then press through. All right, so it's not cobra. It's chaturanga. All right, and then come up. And this time I'll watch. So come again, hips forward. Yeah, there we go. Like you're doing push-ups. Abdomen in, shoulders towards each other. Come down, elbows in. Yes. And then come back up. One more. Elbows in, bend your shoulders, bend your elbows, take your shoulders towards each other, yes. And then push back up. All right. We'll work more on chaturanga maybe next week. Stand up. Take your feet wide apart. Take your hands on your hips, roll your shoulders back. Fold forward, bring your hands to the floor. Lift your chest, look forward. Bend your elbows, lower your head toward the floor. Release your neck. Release your jaw. Work your legs. Walk your hands forward, lift your chest. Place your hands on your hips, come all the way back up. Step your feet together. All right, your choice, Shirshasana, headstand, or what do I want to do? Headless headstand. So I know we already did this, but we did it with the hands apart. So if you're doing the headless headstand, by the way, very good for the shoulders. You out, put your you're going to be doing it like this with both legs on the floor. Like this. Or Shirshasana. So either way, your elbows are shoulder width apart. Your hands, your palms are not touching. You're pressing your forearms down into the floor. You're lifting your hips high. Relax your jaw, relax your neck. So Kathy, I was going to tell you, oh, see, that's on our head. That was not what I was going to tell you. So I don't know if you can do this on your end, but you mentioned that you wanted to be able to see a big picture of yourself and a big picture of me. And I can do that now. But I don't know if you can do it when I spotlight for everyone. So anyway, you can go to your three little dots at the top and pin yourself, and you should be able to see a big picture of yourself. All right, come on down. Rest with your head down. And roll to your side, lift yourself up. Okay, we're gonna do some ab work. So if you need a folded blanket, we're gonna do Urdhva Prasarna Padasana, 30, 60, 90. So we're gonna do it with one leg and then with both legs. So this blanket keeps your abdomen down as you take your legs down. And that's what you want. You don't want it puffing up like this. So if you if you have trouble with a puffy abdomen, you can have a blanket. If you do ab work all the time, then you don't need the blanket. But join me with your legs going towards the ceiling. Also, if you have tight hamstrings, you might need the blanket. All right. Now roll your thighs in. Join your legs together. And you can take your arms over your head for less support, or next to your hips, holding onto the sides of the blanket for more support. Or somewhere in between would be out to the sides, although that's pretty close to over your head. I need support. All right. So, there we go. All right, so ignore the blocks. I just threw my shoulder. Okay. So take your right leg and lower it so it's at a right angle with your body. So if you're on the floor, it's not going to touch the floor. And then switch legs. Keep both legs as straight as possible, as straight as your hamstrings will allow. And switch legs. And switch. 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 So as one leg comes up, the other one goes down. Switch. Switch. And bring both legs up. Take a breath. Move your abdomen down toward your spine. Take your legs halfway down. Roll the thighs inward. Pull your abdomen down, lift your legs back up. If it gets too difficult, then either put more blankets under your hips or go back to the one leg at a time. All right, take your legs halfway down. Back up. Halfway down. Squeeze your legs together, spread across your toes. Back up. Keep your legs straight. Yep. Back down, halfway. A little further. And all the way back up. Bend your knees. Hug your knees in towards your chest. All right. Now you're going to turn on your mat. Most of you. Let's see. Yes, everyone. Okay, so we're going to do Jatara Parvottanasana, abdomen turning pose. So, take your arms out to the sides in a T and hold on to the sticky mat. Let's see if you can kind of turn at an angle. There we go. That can still work. All right, so pull the sticky mat apart. And then bend your knees in towards your chest. Squeeze your legs together by internally rotating your knees, your legs, your hips. And keep them as close to your chest as they'll go without the help of your hands. Then roll your legs over to the right about halfway. So keep your heels close to your buttocks and your knee directed toward your elbow. And then inhale, bring them, or exhale, actually, bring them back in. Take a breath. With your next exhalation, bring them over to the left. Knees close to the elbow, or going in that direction. Legs pressing into each other. Then use the bottom leg to lift the top leg. Come back up. Over to the right. Turn your abdomen to the left as your knees go to the right. Maybe get a little spinal adjustment doing that. Then use the bottom leg to lift the top leg. And over to the left. Roll your thighs in. Roll your abdomen to the right as your knees go to the left. And then bring your legs back up to center. Release them on the floor. Take a breath. Roll your shoulders under. And that is assisted is if you turn your palms to the ceiling. You can roll your shoulders under better that way. And then turn your palms and place your palms on the floor. And you'll do it a couple times without grabbing the mat. The mat adds a little bit. I don't think it adds a whole lot, but you might. All right, bring the knees in towards your chest. Roll the thighs towards each other. Squeeze the legs together. And then take the legs over to the right. Turn your abdomen to the left. With your next exhalation, lift your legs back up to center. Take an inhalation, take an exhalation, take your legs over to the left. Roll your abdomen to the right. With your next exhalation, lift your legs back up. One more each side, take your legs over to the right. Move your abdomen to the left. And then lift your legs back up. Take your legs over to the left. Move your abdomen to the right. And lift your legs back up. Take your feet to the floor. All right. So this time, I'm going to give you the option to straighten the top leg. If this is enough of an ab workout for you, then keep the legs bent. So lift your legs back up. Press your palms into the floor. And then take your legs over to the right and possibly straighten your left leg. So the left foot would be in line with the right hand, and then bend that knee, bring it back up, bring the knees back up. So the top leg is the one that straightens. Take your legs over to the left, and possibly straighten your right leg. And bend that knee, come back up. First side, take your legs over to the left, or to the right, and now I'm just like, whoa. Straighten your left leg, top leg. And then try to lift that leg back up without bending it. Bend both knees, take them over to the left, straighten your right leg. Then use the bottom leg to lift that leg back up. And bend the knee, release your knees to the floor, release your feet to the floor. Be there for a moment, feeling anything going on in the abdomen. All right, we're gonna, since we're already lying on the floor with our knees bent, we're gonna go into Chatuspadasana. So take your hands alongside your torso, towards your hands towards your feet. Then press your feet down, lift your hips, roll your shoulders under, and lift your hips up more. Press your feet evenly into the ground. Turn your left toes in, Gabby. Yes. And then push a little more with your right leg. Suzette, I think it's your right foot needs to turn in. Yes. So lift your hips. Move your knees slightly towards each other. And then come back down. All right. Find your block again. And put the block between your feet like this. And then you can take a second block, and this might be thin, might be medium, small. So for me I need somewhere in between really. But I'm gonna go narrow. It's harder. So while you're laying back, your feet should be touching the sides of the block and your knees should be pressing into the second block. So back to Chatush. So notice what your feet and your knees do when you lift your hips and roll your shoulders under. See how this one is different than the one you did before without using the brakes. A little closer. Lift your hips up, squeeze the blocks, especially the one between your knees. And then lower your hips back down. Okay. So now shoulder stand or Sittu Bandha with 2 bricks. So I'm showing Sittu Bandha with 2 bricks. I have a brick at the wall. It's going to be the same height or lower than the brick underneath my hips. So I'm using 2 tall bricks. Where's that brick? There we go. I could have like a blanket under my shoulders. But this is Sittu Bandha Sarvangasana. This is option 1. Sarvangasana is option 2. Pick one of those and do that. So for my Sarvangasana today, I have 4 blankets, one that's just flat. And I have 3 folded on top of that. I rest my shoulders on the blanket, and my head on the floor. So now I have this nice cushion for my head. I press my upper arms down and fling my legs over my head. I bring my hands down as low down my back as possible, and then I lift my legs up. So my goal is to get my hips over my shoulders, and my heels in line with my hips. Those in Sarvangasana, move your hips forward. Always take them back to the bolster. That roll your right foot in. Yep. Try to roll both feet in. Your feet. Roll your feet in. Imagine there's a block between your feet so that you're pushing them together. Now you can have your feet straight. Just don't let them go like this. You want them straight up and down. Yeah, especially the left one I think is turned up. So far your right elbow is close, you're a little crooked. So if you bring your feet over your head, and feet on the floor. Now move your left shoulder back, your right shoulder forward towards your feet, meaning move your right shoulder towards your feet. Okay, put your elbows down, let me see. That's better, okay. You can go back up. All right, roll your shoulders under a little more, Bob. See if you can get a little more lift in your chest. That's better. Okay, I'm able to see everyone. All right, if you're in shoulder stand, work your way back towards the floor, rolling out. If you're in Sityabandha, remove the brick. And slowly lower your hips down towards the floor. And roll to your side. Lift yourself up. All right. So you can take your shoulder stand pile or your brick, and you can sit on it with your right hip, and then take your left ankle. Oh, I can't really see that. I'm going to get closer to the camera. With my brick, I'm going to plan ahead. All right. Oh, there's my best side. Okay. So my left foot, which is this one, sits in my right arch, and then I sit on my right hip. Okay? And I'm going to do that over here. And then I'm gonna switch it. There we go. All right, if you don't happen to have a shoulder stand pile behind you, which would have been a good thing to have, you might need an extra brick to put behind you for your right arm. Press your left hip down towards the floor, lift your chest, rotate to your right, and pull with your left arm, push with your right arm, turn to your right. Bring your shoulder blades together towards each other. That'll give you more lift in your chest. When you have more lift in your chest, you should be able to turn more. Then look over your right shoulder. Take a few breaths over your right shoulder. Then look over your left shoulder. Take a few breaths over your left shoulder. And then come back to the front. Stretch your legs and move them to the other side. So you kind of have to scoot over, especially if you're on a brick, so that it's only your left hip that's supported. And your feet are going out to the right. Yeah. There might be too much underneath your thigh, Kathy. You might have to scoot forward so that it's not underneath your thigh. You have to let your thigh just kind of hang off. Now push your right hip down. Turn to your left. Take your right hand outside your thigh, left hand out behind. And first, with your head neutral, just turn. So use your arms to turn your torso. Keep descending your right hip. And lift your chest, move your shoulder blades towards each other. Use that to lift your chest more and turn more. Now look over your left shoulder. Keeping your right arm back so it's not following your head. You get a better stretch along your neck that way if your shoulder and your chin move in opposite directions. Then turn your head all the way to the right. And then use follow your head around. Come back to the front. All right, I'm going to give you the choice of Paschimottanasana, this one, or Upavista Konasana, this one. Do one of those. I'm going to turn this adaptive fan off. So some sort of forward bend. All right, so Kathy, I'm really bugging you today because you said your knees. So don't pull on your toes because that'll lift your heels up a little bit, and you don't want to do that. If anything, I would take that blanket and put it under your knees. You're sitting on the blanket. Or a second blanket would work too. Roll it up, fold it in thirds. Like that. Yes. And then grab the outsides of your feet. Yes. Everyone else, press your thighs down. Lift yourself back up. Go to the other side if that's what you're doing. And get ready for Shavasana. So Kathy, use that same roll underneath your knees in Shavasana. Lie back. Bring your shoulders underneath you, take your arms out to the sides. That's the weight of your body into the floor. Soften your neck and throat. Release your jaw. Rest your tongue into the base of your mouth. Focus your attention on the inhalation and the exhalation. If your mind wanders, which it will, bring your attention back to the inhalation and exhalation of the breath. Deepen your breath. Bend your knees. Roll to your side. Use your arms to lift yourself back up to seated. Take your arms wide, lift your chest. Bring your palms together in front of your heart. Think of something you're grateful for.